Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight, and David Robinson.
Ben, Robbo. News, reviews, entertainment news. It's the Ben, Robbo. Ben, Robbo Show. Ben, Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello there, and welcome to a fabulous Tuesday on the Ben, Robbo Show. Yes, David Robinson, I can hear you laughing in the background already. Was that because I did a bit of a hello there?
Well, look, some would call it an accent, others would call it a travesty and a blight on humanity. But, you know, there are two different camps there. Ben, what did you think of Rob's accent work?
Look, to be honest with you, it felt like a really bad impersonation of Mrs. Doubtfire. So,
hello and welcome to the Ben, Robbo Show. I cannot do accents. It does not stop me at all.
Yeah.
And that's what,
really
that's what we love about you. It doesn't stop it. It doesn't stop. It doesn't care what happens. What do people say? You barrel through, and I think we can all learn something from that.
Indeed.
Hello, boys.
Ben, how's your head today?
Well, I'm really disappointed in you, Mr. McKnight, telling people that I was drinking through last night's podcast, when in actual fact, I was
terrible.
I was high on life. Like, I just was having a really, I'd had a good nap in the middle of the day, and I prepared myself talking about my favorite thing, which is Big Brother, and I just had a really good time. And someone just wrote to me and said on social media, "How's the head?" And I'm like, what?
That's terrible. There's nothing wrong with Ben being high on life. It's all good. Don't worry about those bloody people. And also the man in the middle there with the stripes.
They should legalise being high on life.
I think Amanda should breath test you before every show.
If we can have a go at Ben, we're going to have a go at you. How long, just out of interest, have you worked in television?
Over 25 years.
Oh.
If you could then just move yourself side to side, and we can just look at your shirt. Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's all right.
So a bit of strobing there.
And
no, that's okay.
A little bit of history about this shirt. Grant Hackett once wore this shirt. I had to literally give him the shirt off my back so that he could do a news cross. And as you can imagine, for me, that was really quite a moment, actually having to get undressed in front of Grant Hackett, this lean, mean built machine. And there's Robbie, who with his translucent white screen. It was not a pretty sight.
I think we'll leave that right
So
there.
you stole his shirt, though. You stole an Olympian shirt.
No, he stole my shirt.
Is that what you're saying?
I gave him the shirt off my back.
Yeah.
Follow, keep up. All right, there is so much coming up today. We are going to talk to Sam Dastyari about sex and politics and what's really going on in the Canberra bubble and why they do not want you to know about it. We'll also be meeting Garth, the latest evicted housemate from Big Brother, and we've got a very special surprise at the end of that interview for all you Big Brother fans. So make sure you are watching that one. First, though, let's get to our hot button topics. And we start the show today with a frightening story. In only 8 days, more than 1 million new cases of COVID-19 have been reported around the world. Now, look, it took us 2 months to get to 2 million cases, so the rapid rise in the past week is deeply concerning for the World Health Organization. Ben, do you think we've become too complacent? Even in hot zones, people are defying orders of social distancing. People are just wanting, I want to be out of the house and I want to mingle with people. People just don't care.
No, I think that you're onto something there. I think with a lot of people around Australia, there was a real novelty factor that seemed to kick off with everyone adopting these restrictions and this isolation. And then what I noticed is some real complacency that seems to be happening, especially when you're getting out and about. I mean, it was really quite interesting 2 weeks into the lockdown, you know, how little people were out there and how respectful people were. And I think it was playing up to a novelty factor. And then now we're seeing people who I think it's just going to become so much harder, don't you think?
Well, look, when this show first started and we were talking about it, remember I brought up the Bunnings situation where I drove to Bunnings and they were social distancing inside and had all the queues. Bunnings were trying to do the right thing, but no one in that queue was staying 1.5 metres away. They were all on top of each other. It was crazy. And I just don't think we get it. And even in the shops, I feel like I'm being outrageous if someone comes up to me and I take a step back. They look at me like, are you right? And I'm like, yes, COVID-19, COVID-19. Is that outrageous,
I probably think you're
Robbo?
contaminated.
Look, I don't think it's outrageous, and I've got to say this from the outset. You're seeing a huge amount of cases in Victoria. No offence to you, Ben. I love you, Ben. But people in Victoria didn't do the right thing. So once it was slightly lifted, I know it wasn't you. You're the pinnacle of that. But once it was lifted, surprise, shocked me. We're having a huge amount of cases in that state.
Well, look, I want to come to Victoria in a moment, Robbo. I want to come to Victoria in a moment, and we've got a lot to say about Victoria because, as you say, it's just gone through the roof. But I want to bring you this story first. Everyone is tired and frustrated, as we know, from living in lockdown. But outrageous vision has been released from an Adelaide restaurant. It shows a group of people being told they can't sit down yet because the restaurant is at capacity. The would-be diners appear to be fighting back, pointing at empty tables. They then proceed to storm through. However, the group say they did nothing wrong because they had a booking. They left the restaurant a bad review. Robbo, I can't stand people like this. They might have had a booking. We're in COVID-19. Restrictions are in place. These are people that ruin it for everyone because the next thing you know, we're not going to be allowed to go to restaurants because more people have COVID-19. This is just stupidity.
I'm worried that my blood pressure is going to go through the roof and I'm going to die right on air at this moment because my blood boils with this arrogant woman. Yes. So, okay, for instance, I went for my first pub meal on Sunday. It was a big deal. You had to put your names down. You were very clearly social distanced from other tables. I was lucky enough to get there ahead of time. I didn't have a booking. And they said, well, you've got to have a booking, but I think we can fit you how many people? 4? No worries. That will then create the maximum in that pub for that moment. This bloody idiot who looks at an empty table and go, well, I booked. That's fine, sweetheart. No worries at all. But what's happened is other people are enjoying their film. They're enjoying their meal and they've stayed a little bit longer. You know, deal with it. We're all dealing with it. This idiot, this arrogant, self-centered moron who comes in there and then flouts. That was the owner that we saw in the video, by the way. I'm really cranky about this because it's those kind of people that we're seeing in Adelaide. There's those kind of people that we're seeing in Victoria that see an avalanche now of cases. Victoria's just the beginning. It's the tip of the iceberg. All states are going to experience this because people like this woman and this party who went through and go, no, I booked a table, so I deserve it. Yeah, well, people are dying, sweetheart. So I know you need your cheeseburger, but you're going to have to shut the hell up and just wait for a little bit until 4 people leave so you can go in there. Be responsible. Stop being an arrogant little bee.
And it's funny you say that. And it's funny, I'm going to get in so much trouble from Amanda for this.
Oh, here we go.
I did a cheeky run to McDonald's the other week, even though I'm on a diet and taking protein shakes. And when I went in, they had the social distancing happening. And when you went in, they actually asked you to scan your name and put your information in so that they could do the tracking. Yep. And at first I was like, I don't want anyone to have my information, but I was fine with it because it was the right thing to do. While I was in a place where it was a crowded, like a restaurant. So I thought, you know, that's
But you
fair
take
enough.
the responsibility for that, though, don't you, Rob? Like, you want to get McDonald's, you want to have this. So you go, okay, I've got a responsibility for myself and also for
Correct.
the rest of my community who might use this McDonald's. This woman and this party were just bloody outrageous, so entitled. Like, get a grip, you idiot moron. Go ahead.
But geez,
Sorry.
that hamburger meal was so good after so long.
It's a hamburger without anything on it. It's just meat and sauce, isn't it?
Correct. No cheeseburger, just plain hamburger meal, not even the pickle. They call it the
Just while we
McRob McKnight
digress.
meal. It's the McRob McKnight meal. 2 hamburgers, a large Coke, and a large chips. Nothing on the hamburgers except sauce. All right.
No.
Staying with COVID-19 for the moment, and new infections in Victoria have pushed the country's record cases to its highest level in 6 weeks. These alarming figures have prompted medical officials to recommend a strict 8-week total lockdown or deal with continued high rate of infections. Ben, we know you live in Victoria. Are you happy to go under even more strict lockdown conditions because Victoria's had some of the harshest in the country, or is it time to accept that COVID-19 is here and it will unfortunately take some lives, but for the greater good we need to open up again?
Yeah, look, I'm ready to take on these new restrictions. You know, it doesn't daunt me at all to think that we'd go back into a lockdown. It doesn't also surprise me at all that we would go back into a lockdown. I think I've been fairly forward with my thinking in the sense that, you know, in life, things don't always happen in a straight line. It's never like that. It's always, you know, a bit forward and a bit back, a bit zigzagging. And anyone will know that with the progression of anything. So I've always been prepared for another lockdown. I've always been prepared for more restrictions, newer, tougher restrictions. I mean, clearly COVID-19, it's not going away as fast as what people would hope, but we just need to comply with what the government is saying. And to get to where we're going, we're going to have to take a few steps back.
Absolutely. And look, Dan Andrews, I'm sure, will be under fire once again because the rates have gone up and he's tried to do the right thing. But I think it comes down to individual responsibility that people haven't been following the guidelines. There's also, Robbo, a lot of criticism about the protests being able to happen. And I've got to say, the protests shouldn't have happened. We talked about this, or if they did happen, people needed to go into isolation. There's been a couple of cases. And yes, I know that it hasn't been proven that they got those there. It was from other means. Maybe people can go out and about, but you know, everyone's trying to find their way through this, aren't they? And so I'm not saying Daniel Andrews has everything right. I'm not saying Gladys Berejiklian has everything right, or Anastasia Palaszczuk, or any other premier, or Scott Morrison. But you know what? They're doing the best that they can, and we just need to just follow the rules, don't we?
I really agree, Rob. You know, they're all humans. As much as we want to attack premiers and prime ministers and federal ministers and state ministers, they're all human. You're exactly right. It's this really delicate balancing act. So, you know, I hope I don't speak for all of you, but I think I do. But if we were in that position, we understand that people need to protest. We understand that there are massive issues happening at the same time. It's not like one issue stops and the other issue starts. They're both happening concurrently. And that's really tough. For, you know, especially for a Labor premier, I think with Daniel Andrews. Labor is, you know, traditionally more progressive than Liberal coalition governments. It's really tough, but I think you're right. I really totally agree with you, Rob. It comes down to personal responsibility. And that is, if we can go back to that Adelaide restaurant, just wait. Just wait 10 more minutes, because waiting 10 more minutes will either save lives or save livelihoods. So you're not going to kill an old person that's in there, but you're also not going to take away someone's livelihood because you went in there and maybe you had it and you're going to pass it on to someone else. That's right. That's all that's about. This. What I worry about with Australians is, and I'm definitely part of this, is that, you know, rules, you know, piss off your rules. I don't want to do that. I think that's inherently in all of us. I really do. And
I'm
until
better. I shouldn't have to play by the rules.
Oh my God. But until it hits
That's
us,
what I'm saying. People are saying.
we then hold. Yes, but until it hits us, we then change our ways, and then we get outraged, and we're like, "Oh, why isn't everyone, you know, social distancing?" Yeah. But for the whole population, it's kind of like, we don't need rules, whatever. So yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Rob, back to you.
Fabulous, great. All right, moving on. And a business ravaged by bushfires was dealt another blow in January when animal activists wearing balaclavas raided their turkey farm. Charlize Ray nurse also wore commando boots when she broke into the farm, causing more stress to the owners. Yesterday, she was convicted of unlawfully entering agricultural lands to interfere with business and possess means to disguise to commit an offence. Magistrate Brett Thomas said she was entitled to a peaceful protest but can't take the law into her own hands. Shelley said time and time again people have broken laws to do what is right. Ben, is she right?
Look, I think in this day and age, I think we need to be smarter about how we want to get our points across. And I think that seems to be fairly academic with some of the people who are trying to I think they're trying to do the right thing, but they're just doing it in the wrong way and they're breaking the law. Don't you think, Rob, that there's got to be a smarter way to get your point across?
Absolutely. Peaceful protest is fine. But you cannot, just because you disagree with someone, this guy isn't breaking the law. He's abiding by the law with his farm.
Correct.
And even if he hadn't been ravished by bushfires, I mean, you're just giving a two-finger salute to him anyway by attacking a man when he's down. But peaceful protest is fine. But you can't just say, I have a problem with animal cruelty, or what your perception is of animal cruelty. He might, as I said, let's assume he's abiding by every law. You can't just go and wreck a person's business. And there have to be consequences for that. I find this outrageous, Robbo. It comes back to people think they're above the law again.
This is ridiculously outrageous, and it comes from the point that this community was ravaged by fires. They're trying to rebuild. There's no money there. So if you then put into a town that requires agriculture, but also a bit of tourism, a bit of the Sunday drives, they don't have any of that. So for this person to come in, I'm all for animal rights, and I think it's very important that we shine lights on bad people who do bad things with animal products and animal husbandry. However, it's completely tone deaf for someone to go into a place, especially this place, ravaged by bushfires, and then thinking they're above the law and thinking they're righteous and all that kind of thing. I'm going to tell you something right now. Going to the farmers doesn't change anything. It is a waste of time. It is completely self-fulfilling. It's so arrogant, right? If you want to do something, pick at your local member. Sit outside your local member's office. Tell them that you don't like what the laws are. But do not go into someone's life who is trying to pay their rent, trying to, pay their family, feed their family, all that kind of thing. If you do want to do that, though, I'm going to give you a different idea before I wrap up. We're going to take away, animal activists, we're going to take away your money. You can't pay your rent, and then see how you feel. We're also going to take away your leather shoes. We're going to take away, the paint that's got, all this kind of stuff. We're going to take away all these kind of things. If you're still happy then to pick at a family who is above the law, as rightly so you said, Rob, we understand they're applying by the law, then that's fine. Pick at your member. Do not pick at the farmer. It's outrageous.
Yeah. Look, I think localized vigilantism, is that the right word? Vigilantism?
Sounds
Localized vigilantism.
It's very good.
That seems to be one of the biggest problems though, and that is people don't necessarily, and you know what, I don't think people are smart enough to do what you're saying, Robbo, and I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
We need to go to our politicians, we need to go to our councils, we need to go through that process, but you have to understand that relationship and the communication seems to have broken down in some way for people to think that they can't.
Sure.
So when people think that they can't, the next stage is fear, and when people are fearful, they do the wrong thing. So what can we do to try and fix that broken relationship? I just don't know.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well,
good
there's
point. Very
plenty
good
of
point.
hot topics to discuss, so let's move on to our next one. And school could be out for a 5-year-old Brisbane boy if he doesn't have a haircut. Cyrus Tanila is growing his hair as part of a Cook Islands cultural tradition where a boy gets a haircut when he comes of age. The strict Catholic school he attends says it violates their uniform policy and demanded he get it cut earlier. The parents have taken the case to the Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal. The school has allowed Cyrus to continue attending pending the outcome of the hearing. Ben, when you choose to go to a certain school, like a Catholic school, don't you just have to follow the rules?
No, I don't think so. Look, I feel really passionate about this and I want to use an example. I went to Doncaster Secondary College in Victoria and one of my really good friends, she dyed her hair bright red because that's how she wanted to express herself, and she was told that she would be expelled the next day if she didn't change the colour of her hair back to her natural brown colour hair. And I am against squashing people on the way that they want to represent themselves. I think individualism is important. I think that other people's culture is important. And I think that with some of these outdated schools that are trying to create a cookie cutter example and make people all look the same really bothers me. So when I was at school, I managed to get in contact with nearly everyone in my year level, and I went and with my own money and bought all this red hair dye, and I dyed all of it, or nearly all the people's hair in my school, in my class, with red hair, so that we could all go to school and display some solidarity. I was suspended for that, and whilst my mum was contacted and spoken to about my suspension, she also supported me as an adult. That I think it's a little bit, and especially in this situation as well, I think that it's the wrong thing to do. I think.
Well, look, I got to say, I love that you did that. That actually makes me so impressed. But I will say that I love your right to protest, but absolutely they also had the right to suspend you. And if I was your parent, I would have stood by you as well. But here's the thing. You choose to go to a private school, you obey those rules. And rules are the red hair or cutting of the hair is part of the rules. When we were looking at Catholic schools, we were looking at a whole range of schools for our daughter. And when I was at the interview for the Catholic school we were looking at, they said to me, now, we are a Catholic school. And I had been open and honest about the fact that I wasn't Catholic. They said, will you abide by our rules? And I went, well, yes, if I'm going to a Catholic school, I have to accept my children will be taught Catholicism and will, there were elements that I don't overly like, but I think on the whole, the education is better, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, yes, of course I would. And I could see this had been an ongoing issue for them. The fact is, when you sign up to go to, especially a private school, there are rules and regulations. There are things that they want for their school. And if you don't like it, don't go there. This is a Christian
suppression
school.
of expression is a problem. Suppression of expression, I think, is a huge issue.
But when you're at school, you have to. This is once again, a segment ago, we were talking about rules at the restaurant. Exactly same thing. You can have your individualism on the weekend, school holidays, when you're an adult.
No.
But when you are at school, there is a uniform code. There is a look that you have to be part of.
No. I don't agree with you. I think there are rules that come into play for uniform policy. So, Ben, I think it was great what you did, but having red hair is not part of a tradition. It's not part of a cultural tradition. It's not part of a religion. It was just about making a stand. That's a separate issue. That's fine for you. This child is going to a Catholic school. I understand that. But he also has his own rights and beliefs. Christian school. He also has his own rights and beliefs. Now, I've got to go back to, if you want to be a Christian school, thou shalt not judge. Now, I think it's outrageous.
Oh, dear.
No, let me finish my point. You've ranted for 3 minutes. Let me rant for 3 minutes. Yes, the parents maybe should have looked at the uniform policy. I understand that. But at the same time, where is there not an understanding? Christians, they harp on about this idea of, well, we can't judge. It's only up to God to judge and blah, blah, blah. And then they say these kind of things. This little kid, right, his hair is not all over his face. They put it up in a bun. It was respectful. So they went halfway and put the child's hair up in a bun. In 14 months, he's a 7-year-old. Like, get a grip. Like, if he can have long hair up in a bun and then he gets cut as part of his culture and as part of his religion and as part of his tradition, that's fine. If you were a private company owning a school, no worries. Off you shoot. Do what you want. But if you're a Christian school and you harp on, this is the thing, it's the hypocrisy of Christians where they say, well, God only judges and we can only do this. But, so hold on, we will, a little 5-year-old boy can't have long hair because it's a tradition. No, you can't do that. What a load of absolute rubbish. If there was a place where someone should be forgiving and understanding and just going, like little Cyrus, he has long hair because that's part of what he does. Get a grip. This is ridiculous.
One thing I would say to that
ridiculous.
Is that, and we've all had a good say, so I think we are on the home stretch of this topic. But the one thing I would say to that is that this boy has his own culture and his own the things they do, like the cutting of the hair when he becomes of age. That is not part of the Christian faith and what this school represents. When you choose to go
Where
to
is the Cook Island school, though? Where is the Cook Island school? There's no Cook Island school, is there?
Well,
so he's got to. And the Cook Islanders, they certainly adopt Christianity as part of their faith, which they have done for a long, long time. But what they're saying is we want to have that faith and this faith. So Christianity is saying everyone's welcome, but only if you do exactly what we say.
I'm not going to fight you on your issues about Christianity and all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot you say in there I agree with. But my point is that when you choose to go to a private school, this is a private school.
Sure.
You must obey the rules. All right, let's move on. I think we know where everyone stands on that issue. Let us know what you think. I'd love to get some feedback on that using the hashtag BRR on social media. Twitter, BRR show, my apologies, on Twitter, and go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/BRR show. All right. We'll get to your feedback a little later. First, it was Little Britain, then Come Fly With Me. Even Gone with the Wind couldn't escape the current trend of cancellation. But now they've come out after one of our national icons, Kath Kim. Responding to comments that the hit comedy was classist, co-creator and star Jane Turner says it simply wasn't. She also went on to say that many Westies who they were accused of mocking loved the show. Robbo. Look at me, please. Look at me. I've got one word to say to you, Robbo. Is this bullshit? Is it bullshit? You agree?
Absolutely. Now, this article never mentioned who was going after our national icons, which I believe should replace the...
about it.
Well, I believe that they should replace the kangaroo and emu on our coat of arms. Seeing Kath Kim up there would really represent who we are as a people. You know what? There are Westies. I'm a Westie. I wholeheartedly embrace it. To shine a light now on a certain section of the community, now that's kind of, what, racist or bad?
No,
what a load of absolute bloody
this isn't a racist
bullshit.
issue, but what I will say is...
No, Rob, wait. You missed my point. I'm not saying racist, but we're shining a light on now a different member of the community, and unless they sit with the people who are protesting, unless they sit with this kind of really,
good point,
really thin band of what those people who complain, unless we sit with that, it's rubbish. This is rubbish. And like she said...
It's commentary on society. That's what it is.
Yes,
it's commentary on society. I want to ask Rob a really quick question. Is that, Rob, can I just say flashback, and I wish we could just, have that little music by the harp and we just flash back to something that you said a few weeks ago. And you were originally offended by Kath Kim. You didn't like it when it first started.
Yeah, that's right.
And I reckon that the reason why is because you felt like they were making fun of you and your Westieism. Is that a word? No, it's not. Anyway,
yeah, possibly.
You know where I'm going.
You know what I thought? Actually, it wasn't... I don't think it was that. I think it was more to do with the fact that I thought that here were these rich people who were making fun of the people I knew, and it just didn't translate
Case in
to me.
point.
But you know what? I actually watched Kath Kim.
You probably thought it was a reality TV show.
I watch Kath Kim now, and I actually enjoy it. But I will say, Ben, I actually think Kath Kim was more appreciated by the media bubble and a middle to upper class.
No.
I don't think that. I don't think people in the suburbs.
People loved it.
I lived in the suburbs and I loved it. I lived with people in the suburbs. I'm a Westie. I'm not in the inner bubble. I'm not in the city bubble.
No. What statistical evidence do you have? The show wasn't
because I lived
that
there.
Big a rater.
Yes, it was.
But it did well on the
It was
ABC.
a huge rater. Huge rater on the ABC. Look, where are you getting that from?
I'm getting...
It was a huge... Okay, I'm going to... Sorry, Ben, go.
I said it did well on the ABC. It wasn't the biggest show of the year or anything like that.
Look, I don't have specific instructions. I don't have specific information to back up my cause, but I will say this. Kath Kim is social commentary at its best. It's mirroring society. It's not really making fun of people. It's just like, oh, that's what my auntie says. Or, oh my gosh, that girl that I went to school with wore pants like that with a muffin top. It's just really social commentary. And it is a part of this whole cancel culture. And good on Jane Turner for coming out. Sure, Gina Riley feels the same way. It's a fantastic show. It always has been. It always will be. And I just have to say, yeah, I'm excited. I always love Kath Kim, except for that movie. The movie was shit.
My kids have found it and they love it. So, like the show, I have changed my attitudes to the show. And the last thing I would want, even if I hated Kath Kim, was for it to be cancelled.
Is to cancel it.
I can't
I
stand
know.
this cancer culture. And this is where we're going.
Just really quickly.
We've gone
Yes.
from looking for racist things to now we're looking at things that offend anyone. Sorry, Rob, I'll give you the last word.
Go on.
2.52 million people watched episodes of Kath and Kim, but
Wow.
obviously it wasn't a ratings hit. But if 2.52 million
Which
people
episode?
aren't,
That was not a
isn't-
series average, Robbo, and you're not talking 5-cap city. You're
Oh.
talking national figures included there. So
Ben, help
Okay,
me
well,
out.
I've just... Hang on a second. I'm just going to help you out.
2.52, right?
I'm looking at the actual... Hang on a second. I'm looking at the statistics now in relation to... Look, we'll just do a comparison. Kath and Kim rating 2.5 million. Studio 10. Now, there's an interesting one. Oh,
No, actually, no.
Those
now we're-
ratings-
No,
sorry, mate.
He's
One
not
other
even a
question.
cookie crumb.
Studio 10 rated really well in my day and had a really high share with the other two
It did.
shows.
No,
So
it did.
I'm not going
It
to
did.
cop that. Not on Robbie's watch.
I'm not
No,
going to
it
come
did.
at the two of you who are well-known, associated with the brand of Studio 10. I am not even going to go there. It was a simple joke.
Yeah.
I know. It's all
Sorry,
good.
Ben. We're associated with the brand when it rated. We're certainly not associated with the brand that it is now.
Okay.
Oh, the
moving
balls
on.
are out. Move on.
Much love to all our friends at Studio 10. I do love them dearly.
Oh, yeah, all of our
I
friends.
think you
yeah.
know. Hey,
Heaps of them.
guys, pay attention to this because you think you know
Sorry,
Shek,
sorry.
right? You know, the lovable ogre from the hit movies. Well, think again. Before hitting the big screen, he had, well, a few facelifts before we got the green guy we all know and love. Images have been released of early designs of the Mike Myers character, and some of them are genuinely creepy. Here's one. Then there's the scary version.
Oh, my
Finally,
God.
Donkey
Jeepers
looks uncomfortable
creepers.
as well. Look at Donkey in this next one.
Oh, my God. That
That
donkey is
looks like he's
positioned
taking
badly.
Donkey for a ride in more ways than one.
Donkey does not look happy. Hey, Amanda. Amanda, are you
That's
there? Can I
uncomfortable.
ask Amanda a question?
Yes.
Got a
Amanda,
wide shot.
just
Here we
want
go,
to
wide
shout out
shot.
Wide shot, Amanda.
Have we... We've got a wide shot. Amanda, just wondering if you can help us out here. Are you able to bring back the image of the 3 Shreks to the screen? Because if we look at that image, I would say that 3 Shrek, that looks like Ben,
You
Rob,
shut
and
up.
Robbo the last
You
time we
shut
went out
up.
drinking.
I knew where you were going with that.
Robbo. I love it.
That's what we look like after 4 hours of drinking white wine. That's all I can say. Always drinking responsibly.
Yes,
of course.
absolutely. That
Thanks,
night,
Amanda.
that night that you were up here and we were all at my place and Reggie came over. Yes, that is absolutely what we all looked like. So yes. Anyway, thank you guys. Still to come on the show, we are going to be talking to Garth from Big Brother and Sam Dastyari on the sex, lies, and videotape. Not videotape. From
I enjoyed that ad lib. That was a fantastic ad lib.
I could have just got over it, but then I
this
thought
is
I
why I
can't
love you.
promise
No, I
there's going
love
to be
you.
videotape. There is no videotape
I
of the
love
sex, okay?
Oh, my heart is bursting for you right now. Keep going. Sorry.
That's what this show is. Hey, but now it's time to get the very latest news with Aaron Young in the Ticker Newsroom.
Rob, thanks. Let's check the news headlines from Ticker today. More than 1 million people in 6 Melbourne local government districts face renewed lockdowns from coronavirus spark as Scott Morrison now urges nervous premiers to keep opening their economies despite higher Victorian infection rates. Today, the Vic Premier announced 11 of today's 17 new transmissions came from unknown sources. The bidding war for Virgin Australia is entering its final stage, both Bain Capital and Cirrus Capital partners submitting their final and binding offers for the struggling airline. Administrators handling Virgin's affairs will now assess the bids with a view to select a preferred bidder by next Tuesday. A new search is underway near Kendall, where missing toddler William Tyrrell disappeared from about 6 years ago. Further searches are currently being carried out under a coronial order as part of an ongoing inquest. President Trump's broken his silence following the revelation his niece Mary plans to publish a tell-all book about their family. The US Commander-in-Chief told media she's not allowed to write a book. According to the president, he and members of his family were blindsided last week when news of the book first broke. Census data shows health officials are fighting not only a difficult virus but a sharp shift in the demographics compared to back in March. The Melbourne coronavirus spike is concentrated on a growing number of economically disadvantaged communities where English is often a second language or rarely spoken. The weather map for the remainder of today: finally for some sunshine, but still chilly for us in Melbourne. Sunny in Sydney and 17 degrees. Brisbane, 20 degrees and sunshine. Perth, some showers and 20. Adelaide, 16 degrees, a few showers and sunny there too. Maybe some rain showers. Let's have a look at the ASX, which has been open through the morning. It started off pretty strong, had a bit of a dip, come back up. We're calling that a W-shaped recovery so far. Let's have a look at the Dow now, where it took its lead from. Very similar story, not up by too much though, under 1%, but we'll take any good news on any good day. I'm Aaron Young, this is Ticker. Now back to the Ben, Rob and Robbo show.
Oh, I love it when you give us a good stock market report. Aaron, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. There was a shock elimination on the Big Brother house last night as one of our favourites was booted from the house. Here's how it all went down.
Garth, you received 12 votes, which means, unfortunately, Garth, you have been evicted from the Big Brother house.
For what it's worth, I was in the bunker.
Dropping a bombshell on his way out.
God.
And Garth joins us now. Thank you for joining us, Garth.
Hi, guys.
Mate,
Hey.
where did it all go wrong?
Where do I begin? I never ever want to go into a bunker. If I hear the word bunker again, I'm absolutely going to die. I was well and truly played. So, yeah, unfortunately.
Are you shocked to see that you played into such a strategic play by Angela?
No, look, Angela's a great girl, but I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. So I should have known. When I went into the bunker room, I should have actually said, no, I'm not listening. I'm not going to do what you want me to. When I went in there, I thought she had some secret special power where she could evict anyone at any given time. So that's why I went along with it. Like, I wouldn't have gone for Ian. I loved Ian in the house. So,
it was really interesting to me because you really had to switch because you certainly didn't want to get rid of Ian and it certainly didn't seem like you were wanting to play into Angela's game. So it just seems like a bit of a kerfuckus, really. Is there anything that you would do differently going into the bunker now you know what you know?
Definitely. Look, now knowing what I know, I'd go into the bunker and I'd basically go, Angela, I'm here to eat the snakes, but I'm not going to talk to you about strategy. Like, I'd have nothing to do with her because she's dangerous. She's a dangerous player. But look, it is what it is. I went, I was dumb enough and stupid enough to take the bait. Fool on me. I'm usually a lot more sort of quicker than that. So, yeah, unfortunately, it played out the way it did.
Rob?
Oh, no, keep going, mate. Keep going.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, do you know what is actually really great about you? And I loved it. Right from the start, I felt like you've added a really strong contribution to the LGBTI Big Brother family. Is there something, that you want people to remember you for being the player that you were in and representing the LGBTI community in this series?
Look, I came into the house, as we all know. I came in guns are blazing. I played the game strong at the beginning. I think everyone else was like, who the hell is this guy? He's bigger and larger than life. I was unapologetically me. I just think I want people to remember me as being someone that at the age of 50, I could definitely hold my own in a house full of where most of the people were half my age. And
Absolutely.
I think I just wanted, I wanted to show people out there that at 50 you can do this. I did this. I went in the Big Brother house. I've got a foster kid who's 7. I wanted to prove to him that you can be brave and you can put yourself in really different situations. And yeah, look, at the end of the day, I didn't win, but I was really, really happy with the outcome.
Is this the first time you've applied for Big Brother, or was this like a new thing for you? Why did you apply for the show?
Look, Big Brother I've always had this weird feeling that I knew one day I'd probably be on it. And I don't know why, but I was so, and I'd never applied before. But when I saw the application, I thought, well, what have I got to lose? So
yeah, absolutely.
I always felt confident in the application process. I don't know why, but when I went from different level, like you go through the different stages, I was almost like, well, yeah, of course this is what's happening. So, yeah, without sounding cocky, it was something, I think it was fate.
You know what's really interesting is that you also, in the show, you know, you're a bit of a gossip, you're a bit of a pot stirrer. Is that who you are in real life? Do you find yourself in the drama?
Absolutely not. Look, I love a bit of drama, but I'm definitely not the gossip sort of queen. I just think when you're in the house, it's such a unique opportunity. So, you know what? You can wear that hat. You can play that character. You can stir the pot. Because, you know, like in my professional life, you know, I work in the professional services. You would never carry yourself like that. So it was fun. It was definitely putting on a hat and, you know, playing make-believe. I was on Fantasy Island.
Can I ask you, were you happy with your depiction inside the house?
Definitely.
So what we saw was all you?
Oh, all of my friends and family have said you were completely 100% you. I think it's hard to try and fake it, especially if it's 24/7 with that many cameras. I think you'd have to be incredible willpower to completely not be yourself in the house.
I reckon that's the question I need to ask you then. So who is the biggest faker inside Big Brother that's still playing the game?
Look, everyone's got their own game that they're playing, and they're playing it really well. Some are playing it a little bit sort of under the radar. Some people are like Angela. They're out, they're loud, they're a steamroller. I don't think you can ever really criticise someone's game playing because everyone's got their own strategy. But look, people like the Cases, the Xaviers, you know, they're very good. You know, they don't stir the pot too much, except last night when he did drop a bombshell. But yeah, I definitely think Casey and the Xaviers are playing a good game at the moment.
You know, Dan's the person I need to talk to you about, really, because he's playing a really good game inside the show, but I don't necessarily know if that's the long game, because how's he going to fare when if he gets closer towards the end? Totally.
Look, Dan is a great guy. He was actually one of my closest friends in the house, believe it or not.
Wow.
He's someone I think he comes from that sporting code. So it all is about, it's about, you know, you've got to, you know, you don't lie to your mates. You sort of stick together and bond together. But, you know, I think you need to be a little bit more flexible and malleable in the house to get on, because sometimes you've got to wear different hats. But if you're set in your ways and this is the way it's got to be, I think sooner or later you're going to find yourself in some strife.
Let's talk about the strategy with Angela. She had actually a good game plan to get rid of the Alpha group. They are so dominant when we look at it. But then I feel like she ruined herself by actually going against that and voting you out. Was this a bad strategy from her part, do you think?
I think it definitely was. I think she's gotten a little bit too cocky. And I think this might be something that might be a nail in the coffin for Angela. I think she's gone over there thinking that she's got this queen, you know, queen of the house kind of mentality. But I think the housemates are now starting to catch on. And look, I don't think she'll be in the house for too much longer.
Have you worked out why? Sorry, Ben. Have you worked out why they got rid of you?
I think because they all thought that I went after Ian, and because I was very close to Matt and Dan, and we did have some great conversations about moving forward, about, you know, working together. And I think that it came across to them that I lied to them and I betrayed them. But I couldn't say anything. I couldn't say, look, I've been into the bunker, because I was sworn to secrecy. So it's kind of strange.
Although you did drop that bombshell on your way out, didn't
you? You know what? Arnie Garth had to throw a bit of a grenade. I had nothing to lose. I thought, you know what, I'm out of here. Let's give them something to squabble about. Let's throw Angela under the bus. Yeah. So
I think that. I think that what we saw as well was an evolving strategy. So, like, because Big Brother is so different to what we'd seen before, did your strategy evolve as the game sort of unraveled, or did you stick to a strategy the whole way through?
I didn't really have a strategy. I went in, look, before I went into the house, I was like, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to play hard, I'm going to be strategic, but I'm such a social person and I just like people. And I'm a natural show-off, you know, where the attention is, I need to be in the middle of it. So Mine was much more of a social game where I was friends with all the different groups. And, really, by this stage, and in the back of my mind, I thought, you know what, I'll play that later on. That's when gloves will come off and I'll play hard. But, yeah, I think that's where I became unstuck. I just got too socially excited and just wanted to be friends with everyone.
Well, Auntie Garth, the last thing I have to ask you before we let you go, because I know that you're doing a lot of interviews at the moment, is not who's going to win, but who does Auntie Garth think should win?
I think, look, there's the obvious choices. You've got the Dans and the Angelas and everyone like that, but I don't know. I think it could be someone like a Sophie or someone that's just a little bit under the radar. She gives a little, but not too much. I think that's probably the best way to play this game.
Well, I think you did a fantastic job. You really did. Sorry, Rob, I'll let you wrap this up because, I'm just fangirling over Garth because I'm always loved the LGBTI representative, and I have to say to you, you did us so proud. And I hope you just look back at this moment in your life and really get to revel in it.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's a great experience. My son he walks the streets. He carries a pen with him thinking people are going to ask him for autographs. He's loving it. He's frothing.
Well, Garth, you are an absolute legend, and we look forward to seeing you on our Eye on Big Brother videocast tonight at 9:30 after tonight's edition of Big Brother. You are going to come and give us the goss, and you are going to recap the show with us. So that will be tonight at 9:30 in the BRR social media feeds. Garth, you are a legend. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
And our random live shot was meant to take you to broomcam.info. But, Amanda's getting it up. There she goes. It's going to be a lovely sunny day with a forecast of 14 degrees is the low, 31 degrees is the high. And Amanda's going to get that full screen Oh, it's gone again. Oh, jeez. Yes, we'll take some feedback. Terry says, hi from Ballina. Hello, Terry. We've got this one from Travis. Afternoon, boys. Happy Tuesday. Rebecca says, hi, guys. Love your show. Well, we love our fabulous people giving us feedback. Let's have a look at what Amanda's saying. Doesn't have to be a pandemic for what that lady did to be arrogant and wrong. This is the lady who was at the restaurant and barged on through. You can see an empty table and the restaurant can be at capacity for all sorts of reasons that they don't need to inform her of. Very good point, as you always do have very good points, Amanda. Jamie says, I did not get to choose my school. That was Mum's decision, to which Amanda's coming again. I went to an Anglican school. It was follow the school rules or leave. Very good point. If you want to express yourself, go to a public school. We've also got Mary saying, Rob, what happens when the rules are sexist or exclude people? Do the rules have a place? Now, Mary, this is a very good question. This is on the issue of protesters who stormed the farm that had been ravaged by bushfires and created damage. Mary raises a very ethical, interesting point. And look, Mary, I would say that, yes, in some cases we've seen people break the rules, and sometimes rules do need to be broken to make a point, but make points against political and government, not against individuals and businesses. Even in the States, we've seen black women have their businesses targeted as part of these so-called protests for the Black Lives Matter, and they're destroying the business of the people they're meant to be representing. So, I think we always need to be careful of where we're targeting our anger. Im says, not all the rules are the same. Some of them are there to protect us for a real reason, like at the restaurant, and others are just a cultural prejudice that no one would miss if we just forgot them, like a bunch of adults getting all steamed over a kid's haircut. Oh, Im, where would we be if we didn't get steamed over the issues of the day, hey? And we've got this one from Mary again, who just commented on the Shrek video where she said, I'm more offended by the size of his donkey. He had a very small donkey. You'll have to go back and have a look at that. Thank you for all your feedback. There was a shock elimination on the Big Brother house last night as one of our favourites was booted from the house. Here's how it all went down.
Garth, you received 12 votes.
Happy April Fools! That was a clip we threw to the wrong thing. Robbo, don't you just hate it when that happens?
No, I do hate it, of course. You know, sometimes you shoot too early, sometimes you don't shoot at all. And we shot a bit early or a bit late there for that one.
Well,
wonderful to see Garth on our show, and I believe he'll be on our show tonight, Eye on Big Brother, the wonderful podcast, the only podcast and podcast that you want to watch if you want to get the real nitty-gritty of what's happening in Big Brother. So that's tonight at 9:30. Rob?
All right, it's time to cut through the political BS, and for that, there's none better than our good friend, former federal senator, Sam Dastyari. Afternoon, Sam.
Great to be here.
Good. Very formal. Sam, an independent inquiry has found former High Court Judge Dyson Hayden sexually harassed 6 female associates during his decade on the bench. This got me wondering, does this type of thing go on in Canberra?
Heaps. I mean, firstly, it's now Dirty Dyson. I think that's what it's going to be referred to as from here into it. But what's so extraordinary here is, look, you had the Me Too movement in the US, and there was quite a lot of people, you know, a lot of celebrities, a lot of famous people kind of got exposed. Australia's defamation laws are so tough that these things have largely been swept under the carpet. But what you've got here is a High Court judge, right, behaving in that way, an independent inquiry, and the Chief Justice of the High Court herself came out and actually apologised on behalf of the court to the 6 women involved. This is unprecedented. It's extraordinary.
Mm. Wouldn't you say this is pretty disgusting behaviour, not just in politics, but across the board? And don't you think that we should be highlighting that? I mean, you know, that little nickname that you had that we laughed at, I mean, it's kind of a bit sick that we're laughing at something which is so perverted, don't you think?
Well, look, I mean, to be honest, I think everyone's in a little bit of shock and surprise. It's terrible wherever it is. I think what this demonstrates is probably just how widespread a lot of these practices are, and certainly, you know, have been. When when we're all the way up to the High Court of Australia, all the way up to the High Court of Australia, and look, politics isn't immune from this. Look, I suspect this is going to kick off another round of Me Too exposés, because I think a lot of things in Australia, because of legal action, because of defamation, because of the structures, a lot of things that were rumoured and talked about never really came out. There was kind of Don Burke, and then there was one or two other little things, yeah. and because of the Geoffrey Rush legal case, there was a fair bit of silence. What I think is going to be interesting is that the first round of Me Too in Australia certainly had a bit of emphasis on media and celebrities, and that's natural because that sells papers. But I think you're going to find a lot more of it about the legal sphere. And I wouldn't be surprised if in politics, look, I've been in Canberra, I've been around that environment. There was a lot of really kind of improper behaviour going on.
This is an exact reason, though, why you won't see a lot of female, women in politics, is because politicians are probably one of the worst, I would say, in this regard. Do you think that with the second wave of the Me Too movement is probably going to be a good thing? And is that going to allow us to see more females in politics?
Yes and no. It's certainly going to be a good thing in the long run. I think, unfortunately, what it does in the short run is that when a lot of women start seeing some of these kinds of stories, and that, unfortunately, it will dissuade them. But that's in one way. In the long run, that is a good thing to happen, in that the system has to clean itself up. Look, what you've got in Canberra is you've got a group of people, parliamentarians, politicians, who, let's face it, weren't necessarily the coolest, funnest people. These are the student politics people in high school and university, who are in another city, who are away from home, suddenly become celebrities, suddenly in Canberra and Canberra bars and whatever, kind of suddenly trying to relive their 20s and 30s. And there is an incredible inherent power disparity between a parliamentarian and either their own staff or staff or people from, the departments and that. And you've got probably the most innocent way of looking at it is like a Barnaby Joyce situation where he fell in love with his, media advisor. His marriage broke up. They're together now and they're having children together. That's their decision. That's probably a nice situation of that. But there's a lot of kind of sleazy, drunken behaviour with parliamentarians, usually men, hitting on young staffers and that, and trying to live out their youth. I mean, anyone who's been around that Canberra scene seen it.
Let me ask you a question on that. There was a lot of outrage when the Telegraph printed that front page story, Bundle of Joys. There was outrage from people in the press gallery that this crossed a line and that should never have been printed. What are your views on that? Because I find that extraordinary.
Look, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I mean, two issues. One is, let's not be naive, right? This happened in 2018 at the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to think that you're going to have a secret baby with your own media advisor and it's not going to be reported when you're the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia and they're on the taxpayer roll,
And you had voted against same-sex marriage based on your saying that it destroys the sanctity of marriage.
Exactly. I mean, the first thing, now look, and the whole idea and this notion that they had, and it was quite extraordinary. It goes to show the power of self-belief when I think Barnaby genuinely believed that it was never going to become a story and it wasn't relevant and it wasn't going to come out. Of course it was going to come out.
Now, relevant, Sam? Why is this? But why are journalists saying, it's not relevant what they do in their personal lives? If there is one industry that does matter what you do in your personal lives, it's politics, because when you stand up, you're representing something. You're putting forward who you are as a person for people to vote for you. What you do in your private life is indicative to how you perform the role.
Yeah, well, Rob, I think what happens in Canberra, though, is there's a very complicated intersection of really complex relationships between that press gallery, which is captive to the parliament, and the parliamentarians themselves. You've got this weird symbiotic relationship where on one hand, it is the job of the media to report on the parliamentarians. On the other hand, they're the people they're drinking and hanging out with all the time. And on the other hand, they're the people feeding them the stories. So you do have this it's a very kind of hazy, kind of sycophantic world where the people you're reporting on are the people you're with and are the people that are feeding you stories most of the time. And so you've got this whole balance that a lot of the press gallery try and do, which is they don't want to upset the parliamentarians too much, because if you're on the outer, you're not going to be getting those inside scoops. And I think the public see a lot of that and kind of can see it for what it is, which is, there's a club, right? And if you're in the club, you look after the people in the club. And I think the shock with the Barnaby thing was there was an example of when the club didn't protect itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's going to take down these? Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say, is that who's going to take down these people if it isn't the journalists, though?
Exactly.
Well, look, I think what's interesting now is obviously the power of social media and that. I mean, I thought quite fascinating the past week, and again, this is a US example, is if you've been following any of that stuff on Twitter with Chris D'Elia, the American comedian, where one woman came out on Twitter to start with and said, hey, he's a bit sleazy. Like, look at this pattern of behavior. When I was 17, he was kind of sleazing on me. And again, say what you want. I don't know the facts. Everyone can judge this for themselves. But I think what was extraordinary wasn't that there was one story of one person at 17 saying, hey, this seems a little bit inappropriate. It was the fact that I think dozen or 2 dozen people within 24 hours came out and showed a pretty kind of sleazy pattern of behavior. I mean, say what you want. People can have opinions on whether one situation is right or wrong. When you suddenly get to a couple dozen, volume does matter. It adds a gravity to it. So I think the difference here now is that there's that world of social media. If you've been, sleazy or creepy or whatever, people can expose you. There's been a reluctance in the media, I think, because in part, don't underestimate how much what happened with Jeffrey Rush, that giant legal case, did to kind of, water down the appetite of the media to report on these things.
And we live in a world where the media don't have the funds that they used to have. It's a diminishing advertising market, so money is a problem and they don't want big, expensive legal bills. Robbo.
Yeah, Sam, I just want to go back to the Canberra Press Gallery situation the discussion, that we were having before. Is it not possible for a journalist to have kind of a Jim Acosta role? So we know Jim Acosta from CNN. He's always at loggerheads with the president, but he doesn't play that kind of game. Is it possible for that to happen here, or is it just too entrenched in that club culture?
Look, it's possible, right? But again, this is a much smaller pool. So in America, if you're the Jim Acosta, so Jim Acosta essentially has become the kind of the dignified opposition in the press gallery, or the White House press gallery, they call it, right, to Trump. Here it's a lot harder because you have to fold every day. You need a story every day. If you're the opposition and you're the opposition day in, day out, you are not going to be getting drops. You're not going to be getting fed. You're not going to be getting that story. You're not going to be told the inside thing. You're not going to be asked to sit on the plane. You're not going to get the phone call from the Prime Minister or the Senior Minister. And we've seen that role, with different journalists have certainly played it. There were journalists at the Australian when Julia Gillard and Kevin Rudd were Prime Ministers who have kind of played that role. I think perhaps you could argue someone like a Peter Van Olsen at Channel 10 is quite combative with the Prime Minister. But you're not... you're not going to have what you have in the US because it's such a small pool, right? There is so few people. I don't know if the audience quite appreciates it. It's like, take a major network, right? A 7, 9, 10, ABC is slightly different, but a commercial network, right? You're looking at a press gallery team of what? When Parliament's sitting 3 people and a camera person, right? Maybe 2, maybe 1. It's such a small group of people. It's not what you have in America with CNN. That we've got, you got a team of 40, so 5 of them can just be, loggerheads. That one person has to do it all.
Just before you go, I just want to ask you the question of how many centuries do you reckon that we're away from actually changing this culture? Because we talk about it a lot and we assume that it's going to happen, but sort of this pig dog, megalomaniac, misogyny behavior has just been still continuing itself. Like, can you just give us a bit of I don't need to be a psychic, but can you just tell us when that's going to stop?
Well, I think a long time, and I think politics and the law, right, and also I think probably media as well, for that matter, is inherently attracts that kind of, unfortunately, I think draws those kinds of characters to it. And you're right, there is a kind of inherent kind of problem within that system. But we talk about it all the time, and women. It's 4 guys talking now. Let's be clear, right? But we talk about this problem about women in politics and engagement and that. And yeah, the structure. This is a structure, political system that was created by blokes, for blokes, several hundred years ago, and hasn't really reformed since then.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
Well, Sam, we always appreciate your insight. Your chats are fascinating. We will see you next week on the Ben Robbins.
I will see you next week. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. Look, this is where we leave our viewers on Ticker. You have some more fabulous programming coming your way right now on Ticker TV. We are going to continue on our social media channels with entertainment. We will see you tomorrow, everyone, on Ticker. Bye-bye. Bye. All right. Ben, it's time for a hit of entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, let's have some entertainment. So some big news for Channel 7 that's evolving is Ryan Fallon, who we know from The Daily Show. He has been formally charged after an assault that had happened between him and his partner. Look, this comes in a really shocking way because, as we all know, the show was cancelled on Friday, and I can imagine this must have been very trying on him, and it would seem that the pressure was greater than we even imagined, and this particular case has escalated. Look, I don't want to support domestic violence, even in the slightest, but I do think that there is a real problem in this country when it comes to mental health amongst men. And I can imagine that whilst he is going through this, he has reacted really badly. Again, I don't condone his behaviour, but it just does highlight the fact that we need to explore this. Rob, what are your thoughts on this?
Look, we absolutely do, and he is entitled to defending himself, of course. It's not a great look, and Channel 7 have removed him off air, as you said, and I don't know, I always have a problem with that because I do believe people should get the benefit of the doubt until they're found guilty, and we just rip people off air. Look, it probably wasn't a hard decision for 7. The show comes to an end on Friday anyway, so it's not a problem they're really going to have to deal with, but... what can you do? It's all very messy, very messy. But, mate, which celebrity is calling Australia home?
Well, I don't think it'll be called Baywatch for very long, and I think it'll be called Byron Watch, as Zac Efron from the Baywatch film has taken up some residency in Australia's most famous holiday destination, I would say, for celebrities. This morning on Kyle and Jackie O, they were discussing about Zac actually being here in Australia, and funnily enough, Kyle Sandilands is trying to allude to the fact that he's Zac Efron's best friend. Take a listen to this, which played this morning on Kyle and Jackie O.
And you might have heard the rumours that Zac Efron is in the country and that he's been here for all this time with the coronavirus. He's been hiding out in Byron Bay.
I haven't heard anything about that.
No. Well, it's been confirmed by some locals who've spotted him at the general store cafe. But, he's been keeping a super low profile. He's not really kind of doing any location tags on Instagram. And he also, he wasn't there for the... What? He wasn't there for the High School Musical reunion. He was out of that.
I can't be involved in this discussion.
Well, it's out
I'm just
there
going
now.
outside for a minute. Oh, I'm friends with Zach, so I don't want to be.
Kyle.
The thing is, though, Kyle Sandilands, he really is friends with a lot of famous people in some high places. And with these part-time residents in Los Angeles, it's not hard to imagine that he may be friends with Zac Efron. But they did go on to make a point. Why hasn't he been to Byron to go and see Zac Efron while he's there?
Good
Very
point.
true, Ben. That's a good question. Now, I've got to ask you, we've had Christian Bale. He was a great Batman, but in my heart, in my mind, Michael Keaton was one of, if not the most wonderful Batman. Are we about to see him again don the dark mask?
Well, if the reports from The Guardian today have anything to go by, it would be believed that Michael Keaton may very well indeed be getting back into the Batsuit. They are going ahead with a Flash movie. So it won't be a Batman film specifically, so it's not like one of the Dark Knight series, but it will be in the canon of the Batman series. So this new Flash movie will be existing in the universe that Batman and Batman Returns were a part of. Look, Michael Keaton is a huge icon when it comes to the Batman franchise, and going on to get an Oscar nomination for his role in Birdman would suggest that, maybe superheroes are still playing on his mind.
That's fascinating, Ben, because
very true.
They would treat him maybe as an aging Batman. There's so much to like about that. I really like that idea. But, we've said goodbye to a really influential director who also had a connection to Batman.
Yeah, absolutely. Vale Schumacher forever, and that is one of my favourite directors of all time, instrumental with his work amongst actresses. When he was making St. Elmo's Fire, he managed to get Demi Moore into rehab and completely change her life. He has been known to work along Nicole Kidman, many other Australian actresses. I actually interviewed him about 10 years ago, and he said he loved working with Australians because of their work ethic. He has passed away in New York City. He had been sick for quite some time. There'd been a few false reports over the last 6 months that he had passed away, but the very famous director, famous for Batman Forever.
I don't remember Richard Wilkins saying that.
Can I quickly say, sorry to cut into both of you.
That's just a funny comment for Richard Wilkins, who I love and adore, by the way.
Late news in from the HuffPost. It's apparently that our Joel Schumacher has slept with 20,000 people. Apparently, he said that. That's on the HuffPost. Yeah, that's news just in.
Well, when someone dies, that's what we need. We need their booty count, don't we?
That's an old story, guys. Can I just say that story was published probably about 2.5 years ago. He did a bit of a tell-all with the New Yorker.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. No, look, your source is as good as any, and I would say it's just with Joel Schumacher passing away at the age of 80, I'm pretty sure they would have gone through the back catalogue on things for Joel Schumacher. But one of the first things you'll find on YouTube is a tell-all interview where he did detail the amount of sexual partners that he had. Men, women, the man did it all. He sounded like he definitely exceeded more than his fair share of men and women over the 80 years, and power to him for that. But very sad news.
I tell you what, Robbo, you tried to out-entertainment our entertainment reporter, and you got schooled. Ben, your knowledge.
Yeah, sorry, I do apologise to everyone, including Joel Schumacher's penis. Go ahead.
Ben, what's your TikTok of the day?
Well, anyway.
You made me laugh with that one, Robbo.
I don't think anyone really wants to think about Joel Schumacher's penis at this particular point in time. But what we will talk about is in the theme of Batman, with Michael Keaton returning to the role and Joel Schumacher's very famous turn of directing Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, I've actually got some footage of what Michael Keaton's been up to since he found out that he will be returning to Batman. Let's check it out and see what he's like getting back into character.
I don't mind this. This is not bad.
Sweet cape, so dope. Watch
Oh, now I feel uncomfortable.
in shadows, keeping the bad guys.
The question is, how long do we let this go?
It's got another 1 minute 20 to go. What the hell?
Sweet
Yeah,
kicks.
it's a builder. Oh, that's a good kick. Oh, come on, Michael Keaton. You said you loved him. What's he doing now?
Is what I do, friend base, so minimal. Yeah, I'm a gruff guy, grab you by the scruff.
Look, you know what? We'll actually play this out. We'll say goodbye from here. Keep it going, Amanda. We'll say goodbye from the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. We will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock as we stream live across the world and through Ticker TV. Thank you for your company. Ben, Robbo, I really enjoyed today's show. We'll see you tomorrow, my friends.
See you. Have a good day.
Bye. Look at him go. God, I love Michael Keaton. Oh, look at those hips.
Clap, 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 Ben, clap, clap,
I'm clapping out of time.
look at me.
Okay, I think we come to an end.
No.